Fantastic. Susan Hewlett of St. James Quarter, welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I'm still kind of looking forward to the weekend.
And we're only Thursday, another day to go.
I know. It's been a very long week.
And where are you at the moment?
I am in our very lovely new offices at St. James Quarter. We moved about 6 months ago from Elder House into St. Andrew's Hall, which is just on Little King Street and is above the Botanist, which is about to open. So we will be very Ally McBeal-like in that we will have a bar downstairs. So I'm quite looking forward to the opening.
Fantastic. Anytime you need a meeting, just let's talk.
Surprising how many people want to come and visit us now.
Yeah, that's the issue, isn't it? And so life wasn't always this glamorous, I believe, living in this fantastic environment with all these great projects happening with St. James Quarter. You were a lecturer for a long time.
I did some lecturing when I got back from the Middle East. I was in Dubai for 5 years. And when I came back due to COVID, I actually enrolled on I was enrolled by the Fashion Retail Academy on a teacher training program. The idea is to educate industry experts on how to teach. And I think we often talk about going in as visiting lecturers, but actually when you do, it was a level 4 in teaching, mentoring, coaching, an education certificate. But I think when you learn how to teach, it's very different from lecturing and really understanding the needs of your students. It's quite a big deal, and I learned a lot. And it's very humbling as well, because I think we all go in and think we're experts and we talk at people, but you learn how to really understand what those people want to hear from you.
Yeah, you have to kind of pitch it to what their level is. I come from a long line of teachers and lecturers, which can be a wonderful and inspiring thing. On the other hand, they're so bloody opinionated and they always think they're right. Excuse me.
I think what was the most humbling was that I actually, as I say, I've not taught, I've lectured to degree students before. So I was given, whilst at the same time as I was learning to teach, I actually got asked by my own university to go back and teach some modules. And I just thought they wanted a kind of visiting lecturer to go in and support on the modules. And then it turned out they had no lecturer or teacher for those modules. So they decided that it would be a good idea to give me a theme and let me at it, which was kind of okay for the degree students because they had a level of understanding and sophistication. So creating a whole 12-week learning plan for them was slightly easier. And you got feedback on what they did and did not want to learn, or what they needed to know, or what they felt they were missing in their program, because they were just about to come up to their final year to graduate. But the difficult one was when they gave me the foundation year students who are literally between 17 and 19 and have no experience, do not know what they want to do, and are very honest and forthright on telling you that you're not doing a very good job because they don't understand what you're talking about and they don't like marketing. So I think that for me was a very interesting experience. And then I learned the reason they didn't like it was because you just assume they understand what marketing is, and they felt it was a big word. And when you explained, it's basically putting someone, how do you, if you have a trainer or a product, or then you want to introduce it to someone and get that person to love it, how would you go about it? And put it into those terms about bringing two things together, using social media, and really just understanding how to change your learning plans to talk in their language. So I think for me, that was a really great and big learning, and as I said, a very humbling experience, and one that I really enjoyed. And I think I would have gone on to teach more had the role not come up at St. James Quarter. But it was too tempting I don't think I was ready to pack up marketing full-time and go into teaching full-time, particularly when the role came up.
Well, it looks like you've bounced in and out between lecturing and being at the kind of cold front of fashion, with a background in Swarovski, Avenue 32, Victoria's Secret. I mean, you've worked with some of the big brands out there. How has that been?
It's always very interesting. And I think the one thing I love about marketing is you never stop learning. And particularly you've gone from, and we joke about this, we were talking about it yesterday, in fact, when I started in the 90s. My first job, I was given a pad and a pencil and a telephone, and you know, it's fashion PR, and you had to get on with it. And you talked to people, and you sold via some very basic channels, and you only needed 3 hits about that product to get them to engage with it. Now, you know, you have multiple channels to use, and it takes 16 hits for someone to start to think about engaging with your product or service. So it has changed an awful lot, but I think it's still incredibly exciting. And working with big brands, it still brings challenges. And there's always, when I went to work with Swarovski, it was to come in and help them solve the problem. If you remember the little crystal animals that they had, and they weren't seen as cool or fashionable because everyone just perceived them as this brand of little crystal animals that your mum or your grandmother bought. And so that role for me was going in and really helping them get some really detailed research about who their target audience should be, how they wanted to be spoken to, what channels we needed to be using. It wasn't that long ago, but they had no UK Facebook presence. So again, it was just building in sort of fundamentals of knowing who your customer is and how they want to be talked to and where they want to be talked to. So I think that it's always about those basic fundamentals, knowing your customer, knowing how they like to be talked to, and knowing where they want you to show up. And that's super important.
And would I be right in saying that you're a brand expert in luxury in particular? You know, you've worked with Prada, Lancôme, Moët & Chandon, Bulgari. You know, it seems to be a particular niche you're gravitating towards there.
Who doesn't like a little bit of luxury? But I worked with Jack Daniels and Malibu, and quite a lot of high street brands in my time, Oasis and Caramello. So I think I've kind of spread myself across the spectrum. It's quite nice actually being able to be flown to Italy and managing a catwalk show for Miu Miu and Prada, and meeting all the glamorous people and thinking, oh my God, I really need a new wardrobe. But I always think like, oh, I need a new wardrobe. But yeah, I enjoy a challenge. So whatever comes at me, whatever level, but luxury is just a lot nicer challenges generally.
And you seem to have a very particular personal style, if I may. Speaking of fashion, the little black dress, the signature hairstyle as well. It seems there's an iconic look that has been crafted there. Would I be wrong?
I've had this look since I was 18. I did go through a phase of having bright orange hair, but I was expelled from school, so I had to come back with a more normalized color because I was in a church school during my A-levels. And I went back and it was yellow because when my sister tried to put a blonde on it, it kind of went more yellow because of the orange. And so after that, I thought I'd try black, and that was very acceptable to the school because the uniform was black. So I think, yeah, kind of from the time of 19, I have had this bob. I loved Louise Brooks when I was in art school, and, you know, Dorothy Parker and the whole 1920s. I'm a big 1920s fan. So I guess a bit of that and a bit of goth from my teenage years thrown in.
And would I be right in saying that, you know, only the best people are thrown out and expelled from school?
I don't think my mother would say that. It was only for 2 days until my colour was back to normal. And I always remember my French teacher saying, but Suzanne, you look like a little ray of sunshine in the back of the class. So she was very disappointed when I came back with a different colour. But yeah, so that was the end of my coloration. I tried, I failed, I went back to school, got my A-levels.
So what was it about the St. James Quarter, let's not say package, but the opportunity that brought you to Edinburgh?
I think coming back from the Middle East, I'd worked in London most of my adult life. I went to university in London and stayed on. And I really didn't want to go back to London. It's a kind of crazy place. If you're young, it's fantastic. But as you get a little bit older, you kind of don't really want to engage in that pace of life so much. So I was looking at more Manchester, what was around, and this role came up. And when I came up to visit, I really felt that St. James Quarter had a lot of the feel of some of the malls I'd been to in the Middle East, and had that kind of very unusual feeling for a UK, and we don't say shopping centre because we're a mixed-use retail destination. If anyone out there can come up with a much better term, maybe lifestyle quarter, lifestyle destination is a bit more easier to roll off the tongue, but it just felt very different to anything I'd been in. You have Battersea Power Station in London, which has just opened, which I haven't been to yet, but it has that sort of live, hotel, shop, eat, stay kind of idea that we have, and we're very unique. And I just felt that this was such a great development. And I'd been to Edinburgh when I worked with Levi's. I actually created a bursary for the original Levi's store with the Fringe. So I'd worked with the Fringe back in '97. So that used to come up quite a lot for that. And then when I was working for Swarovski, we sponsored the Scottish Fashion Awards. So I'd been up here quite, a few times over my career. And I thought, well, in those days, Edinburgh was kind of the frumpy older sister to Glasgow, who was the cutting edge city of culture and at that time. And came back and just fell in love with Edinburgh and the art and everything that it has to offer here, the whole kind of festival scene. It's just such a buzzy city with always something on. So that was great. And I really felt as a London alternative, it just made absolute sense. And as I said, the St. James Quarter was so different from anything else that was happening in the UK. And it brought together all of my loves. I've worked in hotels, I've worked in restaurants, I've worked in retail, so it just kind of brought everything I've been doing together and in one gorgeous package. So yeah, I just thought, please make me win this role, and I was very lucky, and I did.
Amazing. And the St. James Quarter is quite an unusual package, really, because of the fact that you've got flats, you've got entertainment zones, you've got cinemas, you've got, a high-end cinema as well, gorgeous, I love it. And all the kind of range of luxury as well as everyday brands, and the food court, and then the high-end food court as well, Scottish food court too. It's quite the mix. What can we look forward to? I feel like it's still not quite, everything is not quite launched yet.
Well, we still got the wonderful W Hotel to open later this year, which is incredibly exciting. Rooms opened earlier this year, so that will be, all our hotels will be open. We have Flight Club coming at the end of the year. As I mentioned earlier, we've got the Botanist opening anytime soon, within the next 10 days. There's still a few things to happen. We've got, I think, about 4 empty units now, which is amazing when you look at some of the shopping centres around the country who have got massive amount of units to fill, and we have a lot of interest in those units. And for example, the great thing about having an empty unit is we've got Wayne Hemingway's charity supermarket coming to us, which we're super excited about to be able to host. It's such an amazing concept where they bring together a host of charity shops, and we will work with them to really elevate them, and they can maximize on our footfall. So we're really excited to be able to do things like that. So we kind of don't want to fill all our stores between us in the marketing team, because it will lose that opportunity to be able to do these great things in some of the empty units, which as soon as they're all filled, we can't do. So it's a great position to be in, but yeah, we'd like to have a few more empty ones actually to use.
Amazing. And then tell me about some of the kind of disasters that you've encountered in your journey as a marketer. Obviously, some of them could be to do with, people not quite coming up to mark, but also some of the brand owners have had all kinds of dodgy behavior that has trailed them as well.
I tell you, one of the most hideous moments of my career, and it actually made me quite ill. I was working with Levi's Strauss. I headed up the European communications team, an external agency, but we managed all the PR for Levi's Europe, and we did an event in Rome in Italy, and I scouted all the venues. We had a very reputable production company out there organizing everything, and we flew out and we had a fantastic venue. We were in Edinburgh, which for anyone who hasn't been there, it's quite phenomenal. I think Fendi have just taken over one of the buildings for the head office. It's the Mussolini architecture in the south of Rome. It's quite unique and quite spectacular. And we used that because we were talking about a product which was all about clean and sharp, and very clean and sharp. So we just thought it was the perfect place to do this kind of very off the wall event. We had BMX biking tracks going on outside. We'd flown in some amazing lighting DJs, light surgeons, vegetable vision. We had these fantastic DJs, and it was a whole kind of light experience, films created for us by top film producers in this venue, and everyone arrived from all around Europe, got into the venue, and the little electrician there decided that unless he had a big payment, he'd cut us off. And he wanted cash, and it was a big payment.
Wow, the mafia must have moved north that day.
So it was quite, so we tried to get hold of this production company, and they were like, you need to give us cash so we can give him cash. And I was like, we don't have that kind of cash on us, and I don't have that cash in my bank. And yes, that was quite interesting. So we had Tom York's brothers band, who are thankfully doing an acoustic set on the roof. So we had to quickly change plans and whiz everyone up to the roof. And then we had to come to some agreement with the little electrician about what he would accept, so to get the power back on. And imagine we had all people in the kitchens trying to cook the lunch. It was unbelievable. So we only got through half the film. So we had this amazing bar in the evening, and they allowed us to bring in loads of projectors, and we kind of created a mini version of what everyone would have seen in the afternoon. But it was a hugely expensive event, and just one person managed to bring us down, and it was something we could never have foreseen, because literally the venue, it wasn't anything to do with the power. Whitney Houston had been there the week before. It was purely down to somebody wanting a big backhander. So that was one of the worst moments, I think, of my entire career.
And I suppose in those kind of circumstances, is there anything you can take from that? Is there any learning in there? Except that
It takes some money if you had to do an event in Italy.
That's true. I like it. So then finally, what I need to ask you, how do you foresee the future of luxury when we're going through a period of cost of living restriction, energy crisis and everything? Obviously, I always anticipate that luxury will always survive. It just goes a little bit quiet during a recession. What's your prognosis on how this kind of echelon of society will operate?
I think from the emails I'm seeing at the minute, luxury brands are doing better than expected. And I think the thing when you have with luxury, they have spread themselves across so many markets. A couple of months, or about 6 months ago, China was dead for them. Now China's starting to come back up. So any dip that they're seeing in Europe is being picked up by the East. So I think there's always that ebb and flow, that they are lucky enough that they've spread themselves globally, that to date, there's always, as one market starts to dip, the other one comes out. So that kind of rolling recession or dip, peaks and troughs that happens across the globe, if they're fully covered, they should be able to maximize where it is on a peak. And it's just, so it seems that luxury will always survive. And I think the middle is where the challenge always is. The Primarks and that kind of level survive because cost of living, people shop down. But luxury, if people have money, they have money, and a lot of savvy business people, as we know, make a lot of money during recessions. So there is always liquidity in the market. I think it's the middle where the challenge comes.
Phenomenal. Okay, so on that note, I have detained you way longer than I foresaw, but you got me on my favorite subject, so I can't help myself. I could be here all day, but that would be taking up too much of your time with my nonsense questions.
That's all right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. So I'll make sure that I tag you in on the posts when they go live, so you can share it with your community as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Finn. It's lovely to see you again.
Good to see you. All right. Cheers, Susan. Bye.